Good afternoon, sir.
Well, hello there, and good morning to you. How are things in sunny um, uh, uh,
California?
well, I was going to say northern, but you're not. Is that
Yeah,
considered?
no, I'm northern. Yep.
Okay.
I am most certainly Northern
You're
California.
not central.
No,
What would
I
what would be central?
that would be about an hour and a half, 2 hours down below me.
Really?
Yeah. So
Oh.
we're firmly Northern California. I'm really just west of San Francisco. So just take San Francisco and sort of go west.
Okay. So is what's the delineation between, say, Southern California, um, to where it becomes Central California? Would that be Santa Barbara North?
Yeah, basically when you start getting into cow country,
Yeah.
where you're driving and all of a sudden all you see and smell are cows, you're in
Okay.
Central California.
Gotcha.
And then when you start seeing cities, you're either in Northern or Southern California.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's really just I don't think there's any official delineation. Some people don't recognize Central California as existing.
Some people don't recognize Central Jersey as a distinct area, but it is. I mean, because there's a huge difference between North Jersey and South Jersey, and there's that transition period in Jersey of Central Jersey, right? Which is, it's not quite North Jersey, it's not quite South Jersey, it's an amalgamation of the two.
Yeah, ours is basically we have Northern California where we make all the laws and then ignore them. Southern
Okay.
California where they make all the products, and in between is where they grow all the food.
Okay.
So that's always just how I think of California as it goes.
Well, now I know.
By the way, what color is this jacket to you?
That looks gold.
Gold? Yeah, see?
Yeah.
There's something wrong with my camera because this is my yellow jacket.
I was going to say goldish yellow. It depends on how the light's hitting it, I think.
But I will tell you, there's no green in it, so I don't know what's going on over here.
Well, that's simply because of the background that you're using today.
Yeah, I think I'm getting some spill.
Yes,
probably.
Because it's picking up some of the green screen through your jacket. Yeah.
Well, so what are we talking about today? We are talking about states' rights today, right?
Oh, stop it! States have rights.
So it just, as we all know, we've seen lots of stuff in the news in the last few months, Supreme Court decisions and everything. And then I ran across this article last night, so it really sort of changed up what I wanted to talk about today.
Okay.
And let me bring it up here. See if we can add here. Yep. So Republicans are going to force the floor vote reversing California's electric vehicle mandate, meaning they want to force California to not be able to have stricter standards than the EPA and the Fed. So it's something the Trump administration already had told California, no, you can't have different standards than the Fed. The Obama or the Biden administration, forward, not backward, said, no, absolutely states can make, like the Fed is the minimum standard, and then you can have stricter standards based on that.
I believe California has had stricter standards for, I don't know, 50 years.
Yeah. Much stricter standards there. When look, we have drug laws that are quite different than the federal government as well.
Yeah.
So, I just sort of went back through. I'm a patriotic guy. I like the Constitution. I like my country, and I like states' rights, and where I think is appropriate, states should have some rights. So this one just got me. I don't like the mandates either. Like, I don't like a mandate per se on EVs. I'm with them on that. And what this senator is saying is he doesn't want to ban EVs. Anyone who wants to buy one should be able to buy one, but it shouldn't be forced because his constituents won't work for him because he's in a colder state with a mountainous terrain and stuff. And so he goes through that. And I kind of go, okay, then why are you attacking California? I don't really understand that mentality, other than what happens is there's several states, I think there's 12 of them,
Yeah.
then automatically adopt California standards by their rules.
Okay.
But what does that have to do with California? Like, California is not mandating that the states follow them. They're just saying, hey, for
In
us,
our
here's
state.
what we want to do.
Yeah.
Feels like because California's population is so large, now these senators feel like they can get in there and go, well, no, California, you don't have the right to do this because you're going to change the market.
So, uh, what's the idea behind the vote? That if somehow they get a majority of senators to say, "Oh yeah, California shouldn't be able to do this," which I don't think they'll ever get a majority
No.
of senators to say that. But if they did, so what? Then what happens? So then, for it to become a federal thing, I would believe, wouldn't it have to be passed by the House?
Yeah, so this is a House vote, which they
Okay.
might get, but
Yeah.
there's no way it's going through the Senate,
No,
and
absolutely not.
the president would sign it off even if it did.
Yeah. So,
So like, and they're not going to be able to overwrite a veto. There's no way. Even if they pass this, it would be super slim margins.
yeah.
So I mean, in that regard, it does feel like just sort of a grandstanding bill, as they love to do up there in Washington. We're going to have this bill that nobody thinks is going to pass and go anywhere, but we're going to get in front of cameras and talk about it.
Well, it's certainly. I know my son doesn't really like me to delve off into politics, but but I can't help myself.
No, that's what this show is, and
Yeah.
this is our safe place to do that.
It certainly seems to me that as a country, we would be better off talking about things that we really can impact and finding ways to impact issues, as opposed to creating issues that we know we can't do anything about because, well, it just plays well on to the base voters who aren't the majority of the population. So
no, not even if you include both bases, it's still
Yes.
not the majority of the population.
So
I agree.
it would just seem to me that, my God, we pay you enough money to work part time, even though you say you all work full time. But I've the Senate and the House, they get so many days off. It's ridiculous. I wish my son would give me that many days, but he doesn't. And that's okay. But it just seems to me that if you are elected to represent your constituents, and to represent your country, it is incumbent upon you as a politician to actually, I don't know, want to do something to make it better. And just performative politics is not making it better. Okay. Performative politics is just that. Performing.
Yeah. Oh, and
doing
dividing.
things in public that when you're behind closed doors with your fellow senators or fellow Congress people, you go, this is all BS. You understand? I'm just doing it for the TV. Put all that aside just one time in your life and do the right thing for the country. It's like I rail against car dealers because I say, well, if the premise of your business is to be deceptive in order to get the people in the door, then you should think about how it is you do business. Just, you wouldn't want it to happen to you, so don't do it to your customers.
Yep. Well,
the same applies to our politicians. You're there to solve a problem, not to create the problem. You're supposed to be the solution, not the cause.
Yeah, well, though they're supposed to be representatives, and I question how many of them represent their constituents to a real, and not even taking sides. And I don't mind taking
Yeah.
sides. This is the show to do that. So, but I'm just not even taking sides in this one. I just say I don't find a lot of representation in Washington. I don't think they're kind of doing their thing in there. But to your point of whether they work or not, the Congress has 11 more working days this month. So
Excuse
yeah,
me.
yeah, they have.
And didn't they just get back yesterday or today?
Yeah, today.
Isn't today? So they had today's the 12th.
Yeah,
So they had the first 11 days of the month off.
yeah,
Okay.
and they have 11 more working days to get there.
So they'll have 12 working days this month out of 30.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Where else can you get a job like that pays as well as this pays and allows you the opportunity to increase your net worth exponentially because of the gifts that lobbyists rain down upon you?
Well, don't forget the orientation. There apparently is some sort of orientation when you get in there as a freshman senator on how to pick stocks, because they pick those stocks better than professional Wall Street people do.
Well, that's because they get all the inside information first before they pick their stocks. Which, if any of them really gave a damn, they would absolutely ban the trading of stocks while you're either a senator or a congressperson.
For you or your family. Yeah,
yes.
I agree. But it's the same thing. Like a lot of people are calling for term limits. By the way, anyone who calls for term limits, study California. We've had term limits for a very long time. They're not the magical solution you think they are.
No, because what you end up with is a lot of inexperienced people.
Yeah, well, and they just switch from here to there to back, and then they stop being senators and now they're lobbyists, and they get hired millions for that. And so it's not the magic bullet everyone seems to think it is. But there's a lot of these things that just, this one irritated me because I'm a states' rights kind of guy. That's just who I am. I firmly believe a lot of things should be left up to the states, and the government, the feds, should take care of infrastructure, military, and thank you very much. That's about it for me and my personal point of view. So when I see things where one side gets mad because things are returned to the state, I go, hey, but that's what the country's supposed to be. But then I see the other side doing this, and I go, hey, wait a minute. States' rights. Like, either states' rights are something for you or they're not. You don't get to pick and choose whether it's because you like the issue or you don't like the issue. If California wants to mandate EVs only, that's their right. Do I have to live in California? No, I don't. I can leave California and I can go to somewhere else that fits me better. And everybody on this channel who's watched for a long time knows I am looking at other places to go for a variety of reasons. But that's kind of what this is about. And I just resent the idea of senators going and saying, no, California, you can't do this and you can't do that, unless it's a Bill of Rights thing. Man, the states have some serious rights here, and I don't like watching them trampled, and I don't think this is the right way to do it. I think this is just as wrong as mandating is in the first place on a federal level.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, there's certain things, I don't know, apparently over the course of our lifetimes, we've been able to eventually agree upon. When states started passing laws that you needed to wear your seatbelt when you were operating your vehicle, many people said, well, the hell with that. I'm not going to buckle up. Okay. I'll show you guys. I'll crash my head into the windshield when we have an accident rather than not.
Yeah.
But today, probably 98% of all people that drive in cars gladly don't even think about it. They just put on their seatbelt. That's the first thing you do when you get in the car. So it is possible to have states mandate things that when you look back at it, you go, yeah, it wasn't a bad idea.
Yeah, so I wish I had the video because there's a funny video I saw on social media, and it's funny to me now. They were interviewing some people in a state before I was born, I think, although it might have been in like the 80s. But they're interviewing these people about drunk driving laws and that you can't be in a car with an open container. And these people were railing against it. Normal blue collar workers, they would like go to like a steel factory and interviewing people in their cars like, hey, I get off work and you're telling me I can't have a couple beers before I drive home and I can't unwind and and this is ridiculous. And they're sort of going off on this. And you look back in retrospect and you go, really? Was that? So I get what you're saying in that is sometimes, with perspective of time,
you realize that, maybe it really was the right thing.
Yeah. And Mike here has a question.
Yeah.
If Texas policy was forced on you like California's was on Maryland, would you support it? I don't know what the hell you're talking about, Mike. Where's California? California is not enforcing their policy on Maryland. If Maryland decides to
do it.
Yeah, if Maryland decides to adopt the CARB standards, what does that have to do with California? It has nothing to do with California and what we're allowing. I am absolutely very pro states' rights. And if Texas decided they wanted to adopt California's laws, that's up to Texas. If California decided they wanted to adopt Texas law, that's up to California. Absolutely, I'm for that. Nobody in California is forcing another state to adopt their rules.
Exactly.
So yeah, again, that's a state's right thing. I don't know. I have said many, many times, these 12 states that automatically adopt California's CARB standards. Why? I don't understand why you're doing that. Why? Maybe it automatically in your laws adopting California standards seems kind of out there to me. But California absolutely has the right to adopt their standards.
And not say, well, just because it's a California standard, well, Nevada, you've got to have that standard as well, and so do you, Arizona, because you're a border state. Yeah, they're not saying that. They're just, this is the standard within California.
Yeah, and look, we have a ban on gas-powered lawn care equipment coming up on all of that. I guarantee you, the border states are very happy about that. They are not adopting those standards. So what's going to happen in Nevada and Arizona? Well, people are going to go over there and buy their lawnmowers and their leaf blowers and when they need to go do that because electric just isn't there yet. But that's the state's rights. Now, if people in California don't like that, we can vote in other people.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that happen, but we could, in theory, vote in other people that were more aligned with what we're thinking. That's an internal state issue, though. That's not we're not forcing that on other states. So I don't really understand that sort of that pushback, because it's not like Texas is being restricted from their standards on anything by California. I think they're very clear. Whatever California does, we want to do the opposite kind of thing. But ditto with Florida.
Since you got to defend yourself, it's my turn to defend myself. Ray hates electric cars, refuses to acknowledge how much the U.S. subsidizes the oil industry, and generally wants the dealership's way of raping the customer. Well, that's kind of funny, because apparently you haven't followed our saga for the past 3.5, almost 4 years. I represent everything that we want to see change in the automobile industry, and I've been shouting it from the rooftops as long as I possibly can. So no, I don't generally want the dealerships to continue their way of raping the consumer. I call those dealerships out every chance I get.
Absolutely.
Every chance I get. Now, do I love electric cars? I don't love them. I don't hate them. I don't want one. And the reason I don't want one is I don't drive enough. Okay. My car, which is 15 months old, has 6,600 miles on it. God bless my son, while he spent his summer down here at the Jersey Shore with me, he put 2,900 miles on my car in those 3 months. Okay. I don't drive. I drive about 4,000 miles a year. That's why I don't want an electric car. And I live in a condominium and we don't have an electric charger. So an electric vehicle for me would be a bit of an inconvenience. And yes, I understand that the government subsidizes the oil industry. I also understand that the government subsidizes just about every friggin' industry in this country.
Yep.
Okay. From big pharma to big oil to everything. It's just the way the country works. But the one thing I won't tolerate is dealers that try to rip off customers through deceptive practices. And I will do everything in my power to help educate people so that they know better, so that it won't happen to them. And I will do everything in my power with my son's aid and the aid of everybody at CarEdge to try and convince dealers that they shouldn't and don't want to operate in that manner moving forward. So 222 ain't, you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Well, the only thing I want to say in there is I don't really, this is probably going to sound very California of me, but this is what it is. I don't really appreciate the term raping the customers. I think that word is abhorrent and should be used for real cases. And that is all I have to say about that. I think, Ray, you defended yourself. I would never call you an EV hater. I think you used to be more anti-EV than you are now. Yes. And you just think they're not for you, which I am 100% behind on that. Like, I get that. I qualify people all day long on car deals. A lot of people do come to me because of the show and other things for their EVs, and they're voir diring me and if it's going to fit them and this and that. And look, I disqualify a lot of people from EVs. I love EVs. I drive an EV, but right now, as we say here, they need to focus on getting the charging infrastructure to handle all the EVs long before they do the mandate on the vehicles. I agree. Like, the infrastructure needs time. It needs to get there. This is, I think, the number one obstacle to EV adoption is not just the charging network, but the grid. I think California sort of shows that the grid needs to be reinforced and need to put new things in place to be able to deliver that kind of electricity. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that stand in the way of these first off, they're not mandates, they're goals. There is no mandate per se. EPA maybe, but they still haven't released it. So that would be the closest thing that's coming. Right now, they're all just goals, and I don't think anyone thinks they can fit them. And then James says his electric leaf blower runs 170 miles an hour, runs on one battery for 45 minutes. It's not the home consumer that's going to be affected really by the California law on the gas. It's the professionals.
Yes.
It's the ones who do it for a living, because 45 minutes on a leaf blower, if you're doing commercial, is nothing. So you got to keep extra batteries on your truck, and you got to swap them out, and and if the property's large enough, this is just not realistic to do at this point.
Well, and if you're a professional landscaper, truth of the matter is you're not just doing one property a day. You're spending 8-10 hours a day running around doing one property after another. And if your battery lasts 45 minutes on that leaf blower, that ain't helping you.
No, it's nothing. You could barely get around half the capital in here for that.
Yeah, that's some crazy stuff. It seems to me that really what we're saying is there just should be a choice. There should still be, in a sense, I'm pro-choice. I'm pro-choice to be able to say, I still want to drive a nice vehicle because I don't drive enough to drive and buy an EV
I had,
because of the inconvenience factor.
yeah,
That's all. Everybody should have that choice.
I'm pro-choice in most everything in life. I think people have the right to do what they want to do as long as it's not hurting somebody else, and that includes EV versus ICE vehicle.
Yes.
You know, I think you should have a choice. I get what California's trying to do, and as long as it's at the will of the people, they have the right to do that in their
Yes.
state. And if you don't like that, then may I suggest Raleigh, North Carolina is a lovely place.
And from what I understand, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Raleigh, North Carolina just might be in your future.
That's right. That's right. I'm going to find out here pretty soon, next few months, and got to go down and take a look and ride around and see. My biggest fear, as I think most people know, is just everybody's moving there. So Apple's opening their campus. Google has a campus. Amazon's campus is going there. You already have the Research Triangle. It's starting to sound a lot like Silicon Valley, which I'm already close enough to. Yes, I don't know that I need to be part two.
But it's in a different part of the country, and it is a beautiful area.
It is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. And there's a lot of it that does remind me of Northern California 25 years ago, which is a good thing for me. Like, it's a really good thing. And there's some hospitality there. You know, I've spent just a little bit of time over there, and it's just a really beautiful place with some really great people. So I'm looking at that. But I don't want to necessarily trash California either, because California's, as much as I say, I'm going to flee California, I've been here for 30 years. There's a reason why I have still been here for 30 years. California has a lot of great things going for it. Whether you agree with the politics out of Sacramento, I use my own city as a pejorative, but whether you agree out of the capital, that it happens to be in the city of Sacramento or not, beyond the weather and the geography, it's just some amazing people here. Not everyone is Hollywood. That's just not what they are. So it's although not everyone in Hollywood is Hollywood either.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful. I don't necessarily always want to trash on California. I feel kind of bad sometimes because I have been here for 30 years, and there is a reason for that. It's a great state.
I will say this. You know that I live just south of Atlantic City, and in the lovely little town of Ventnor, New Jersey, and I think our permanent population in Ventnor is 15,000, and I think our summertime population swells to about 45,000. And even on the busiest of holiday weekends, it still is nowhere near as congested and as busy as the Washington, D.C. area where I was in the past. So that I love the small town, slower type of vibe. Now, I will say that having gone into Atlantic City on the boardwalk on Sunday to cheer Zach on in the Ironman, I was once again reminded that Atlantic City on the boardwalk is indeed a real poop hole. I mean, it is just the worst. Okay.
But I thought the boardwalk was the most coveted property you could get.
Well, it is if you're playing Monopoly, But in real life, it is, I'm 72 and I started coming down here when I was just a kid, and just the changes I've seen in my lifetime. When I have pictures of my parents when they were walking on the boardwalk, and believe it or not, the women used to wear mink stoles, and the men would be dressed really, to the nines. And it was completely different than what it is when I was a kid. And from when I was a kid, it's completely different today. I mean, it was always kind of hunky tonk, but it's even worse today. But you take the good with the bad. I don't, the wonderful thing is, I don't have to go into Atlantic City unless I want to. Nobody's saying, Ray, you got to spend 12 hours a week there. No. Occasionally I go to a restaurant in Atlantic City, and usually those are casino hotels. So how bad can that be? Because if you're going to experience a fantasy, you might as well do it at a casino hotel, because there ain't nothing real about any of those places. And then I come home to Ventnor, my quiet little town, where everybody knows everybody. And so I get it. It's every place isn't for everybody. It just, and if people don't like California, don't move to California.
Yeah.
And if
absolutely.
you live in California and you don't like California, move the hell out of California.
Now, I will say, as a public service announcement to every other state, to Californians that are thinking of leaving California, don't bring California with you when you go.
Yes.
So we have sort of a reputation for that. And that has been one of my things about moving to anywhere is I look and like, what's the population percentage of Californians that are moving to that area? Because if I'm going to leave California because I want something different, I don't want to go to mini California.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure that's, with a lot of places, but I know California sort of has a reputation.
The Southern hospitality and the Southern charm that you would encounter in the Raleigh area is so much different than what you encounter in the Sacramento area, and certainly so much different than what I encounter in the South Jersey area. Because those of us who live in South Jersey, we tend to associate more with Philadelphia than, say, New York. Philadelphia is like an hour away. New York's like an hour and a half away, 2 hours away. And I would say that most of the people in South Jersey think along the lines of Philadelphians, and so they're more blue collar, hard scrabble people. Kind of really tell it like it is. Don't really hold back, which is completely different than what you're going to find in Raleigh, or what you'd even find in North Jersey. Hell, when we were in Staten Island. There's a huge difference just in Staten Island.
I was gonna say, even I know that one. That's
So I said all that to say that I think if you eventually make a move to Raleigh, you'll love it there. You will absolutely learn to love it there, and you'll appreciate the hospitality and the kindness of people in that part of the country.
Yeah, and I was to say one thing that I'm always and Ray, I know you will appreciate this probably more than most of our audience, but when I'm looking to move somewhere, the way I narrowed a lot of these cities down was food. Where can I get good food that I'm used to? Because California is very, very diverse and very rich culture, and I live in the farm to fork capital of the world is where the movement started. I'm used to fresh, great food from so many different cultures everywhere. I can go to Dominican tonight and Mexican tomorrow and French, the day after, like whatever. So I really needed to narrow down to where am I going to get good, authentic, real food everywhere. And Raleigh, the Raleigh Triangle really hit that for me.
Yeah, that is such an important aspect of wherever you go. I will tell you that one of the things that Zach and Laura are truly looking forward to in getting back to DC is the diversity in food choices.
Yeah.
Realistically, in the Atlantic City area, it's kind of like Italian or Mexican. Okay. And there's very little in between. You're just not going to find some of the ethnic food choices that you find in a city like Washington, D.C., where the kids could go, oh, I'm in the mood for Ethiopian. And okay, you go around the corner, there's an Ethiopian restaurant. The Atlantic City area doesn't necessarily provide that. I like the food in the Atlantic City area because I like the sandwiches.
Okay,
I
know.
like
We
Italian
talk
food.
about your
I like
sandwiches.
Mexican food, and I am particularly fond of the sandwiches the sub places, the sub shops that we have here. So that keeps my attention, but I get why Zach and Laura are so excited to get back to DC and be able to go to some of their there's a Ukrainian place that they love to go to for breakfast. Well, there wasn't one of those around here. I get it. The diversity is nice. The area where I live, it's. Am I allowed to say it's Jews and Italians, and that's pretty much it? And that's it. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to a diversity of food, like not necessarily like all in Sacramento. Like, okay, there's a limitation, but within an hour drive, which is perfectly fine, I will drive an hour to get really good food. There's almost nothing I can't go get. So, that was a really big thing for me when I was looking around where to move, and the Raleigh Triangle really kind of hit on a lot of those. I'm very much with Zach and Laura. Like I need that variety. I need to go as much as I might love. Okay, the one downside, and anyone I know, we have a lot of Californians here on the chat. I'm saying the one thing I will miss deeply, truly, in the pit of my stomach is In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah,
it's going to absolutely kill me to leave In-N-Out. I worked there for 6.5 years. I've eaten there, all the time that I've been in California, all the years. That is going to hurt. When I did leave and I went to school in Tucson, luckily In-N-Out was still there, so I didn't have to worry about that. But now, the concept of leaving In-N-Out is the only one that
I hear you. I can appreciate that. From Michael, Ray has to come to Ann Arbor while he's in Detroit, so maybe we need to do a side trip to have a sandwich at Zingerman's. I have had some cake from Zingerman's that was unbelievable. And yes, I would love to go to Zingerman's Deli. It is one of the best delis in the United States.
Okay, I'm putting that into my group right now because we already have 3 places that we're going to.
I don't know. I don't know that we're going to have enough time to go to all the places that we're going to want to go to and still make it to the Detroit Auto Show.
Look, Ray, between you, me, and Jerry, I think we care more about the food than we do the auto show.
Well, here, I can assure you up front, I don't give a damn about the auto show. The only reason I'm going to the auto show, number one, is to hang out with the people that I get to hang out with. Okay. Not to look at the damn cars. I could care less about the cars. And the second reason is for the food. Okay. The auto show is just an excuse to get to hang out with the people that I want to hang out with and be able to eat with the people that I wanted to hang out with and still have the company pay for it. Okay.
So what we're saying is basically our live show from Detroit may be us running as fast as we can through the auditorium to get back to the car to go get something to eat.
The live show literally could be probably in a booth at a restaurant somewhere, us eating and chatting about, how we probably should get back to the car show sometime. Oh, Lord. And to think that is just like, we're talking a week from Thursday.
Yep.
That will all be out there for the auto show.
And the auto show is on Saturday, Friday.
What
day are we going?
I have no idea.
It's on Friday or Saturday. I don't remember.
I don't know. All I know is I'm getting in on Thursday and I'm flying out Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. So I
And
think,
then,
yeah. And all I know is we got to record some segments in the Tesla for you to
okay,
drive.
yes,
And those segments may be us driving to, say, like Bill's Drive-In.
whatever.
So to go get some Coney Island cheese dogs, chili
Yeah,
cheese
we
dogs.
got
Yeah. Yeah.
we got to get a Coney dog. I mean, there was literally on MSN, which is the browser I use for whatever, I don't know what the hell it is, the homepage I use, and they
I
had,
think, yeah, it's a homepage. That's not a
yeah,
browser, thankfully.
whatever the hell it is,
Yeah.
and they had a story yesterday about your state's best hot dogs. Okay, so I naturally I clicked on it,
Of course.
and because well we're going to Michigan, and Michigan's best hot dogs happened to be in Detroit at I think it was American Coney Dog or whatever it is.
Oh, that was one of the ones I had put on my list too. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
and I believe there's a place in Detroit where there's two storefronts next to each other. One of them is American Coney Dog, and the other one's another Coney Dog, and they're competitors, except they're family. and they own both of the damn hot dog places. Yeah.
It's a great way to have competition.
Yes, yes. So if one starts to run low on hot dogs, they run around back to the other one and grab some of their dogs. So yeah.
Well, maybe we got to hit them up. Isn't that like what's the Philly places in
Pat's Steaks
Pat's
and Geno's,
yes,
and
yeah.
they are literally diagonally across the street from each other. Yes.
Yeah, which from what I hear works out really well for both of them because
And it does.
everyone wants to try both of them.
Yes, and they literally are two slightly different styles of cheesesteaks. So yeah. So you have to do that. Oh, Detroit may have a Portillo's. Oh my God, they're out of Chicago. They're good.
Oh, what do they make?
They have good dogs, good hot dogs, Chicago style dogs, which are different than Detroit style dogs.
Yeah,
and they have Chicago beef sandwiches, which
I do love a good Chicago dog as long as it's made with a neon green relish.
Well, it
which doesn't change the taste at all. But
I don't know how we're ever going to do the auto show.
Yeah. Susan, we talked about cars, and now we're on to food.
So Susan, I don't know.
We're probably not going back to cars today. So if you need to jump off, go ahead.
All this talk about food, it's lunchtime.
I know.
and I do have to tell you, I have a friend of mine from Phoenix who is in the area, and well, he should be arriving shortly, he and his wife. So I get to see my dear friend, Todd Friend, aka Dude, and we're all going to do dinner tonight. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So, but for Susan and everybody else, you got to know once we start. I don't apologize.
Yeah.
But once we start talking food, we're going to be on food pretty much for the rest of the show. I think that's sort of it works. Yeah. That's the way it works. And, look, we've already gotten 4 suggestions here on places to go. So, that's why we're going to talk food, because we love food.
Yes.
Yes, love food.
And speaking of food, it's my lunchtime. It's time for me to go get some.
Yep. Yeah. And time for me to go to my meeting. That's weird. That's a weird thing to say.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
So we will be back tomorrow.
Yes, that was my plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this Friday, no next Friday.
Okay.
Or unless we're going to be at the auto, we'll find out what day we'll be at the auto show.
Yeah.
It might be fun to go live from the auto show.
Yeah, I would think that could be fun.
Depending on whether they have Wi-Fi or not, because it would not be fun for the audience to watch us freeze the entire time.
My guess is I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a guess. They might even have an area for journalists.
Oh, yeah.
And I would use that term loosely if we're including us. But, they might have something so where we could set up and do live remotes.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. Live from the auto show. So I'll try to get that set up.
Okay.
In the meantime, you have a lovely lunch.
You
And,
too. Well, when it's lunchtime for you,
Yeah.
you have a lovely lunch. Thank you for today. I had a great time. I look forward to doing this again tomorrow.
All right. See everyone tomorrow.
Yep.
Bye bye.
See you, everybody. Bye bye now.